So this shifting in consciousness is what we're talking about here, and we're shifting every single day. And right now, the last 13 round and the last 28-day round, they completed in the same day. The 28th was day 13. So it was sort of a crescendo. I don't know if you could feel that, but the day after, day 1, day 2 has been a little bit of a very new energy. It's like the old, like a lot of things has shifted. Once you get acquainted with moving in frequency like this, you can feel Gaia and you can feel your body going through things. And so if you've written down your goals, it's really good to do that. Also pay attention to, once you get accustomed to this, that you will receive suggestions from Gaia. You know, it's not, what we're doing here is not from here. It is a little bit, but it's not the logical, oh, I just want to do what I want to do. That's not what we're doing here. This is a different system. It's a system of the body and allowing for integration between the two, right? The mind and the body in harmony. But many beings don't even know what that means. They've been so used to doing what they're doing from the mind that they think that they're doing it correct because they're thinking correctly, but they're still thinking. And so there is a different sensory experience. This is why it's so good to go out traveling, meet different people, feel, you get a lot of information by actually being in the physical environment. There's a lot of information that, at least for most beings, are missed when you're just speaking like this. But of course, when you're tuned to energy, you can get that information also when you're connected to Gaia. That's when you get that. But if you're not connected to Gaia, which these technological devices have a tendency to, depending on how you're using your consciousness, depending on if you're too much in the computer, let's say, with your focus, like if you're a bit more lean back with your energy, not so on, you can sort of see that with people too. People that are really push, they're sort of hunched over. You can sort of see that. They sort of have their burdens on the back, It's like this. And then they usually concave, the solar plexus and the heart is sort of shrunk instead of the complete opposite, There's a lot of programming that is misinformation. A proud chest is sort of indoctrinated as if it's someone thinks that he's all that and that type of thing and have a really blown up ego. In actual fact, it is actually that you are, there is something physiological with this position. You're opening the energy centers and channels so that they are running and you're open. You're open to the world and you're okay receiving the world, head up high, not like, but just a natural chest up and just be proud of who you are, You're such a magnificent being walking this path of consciousness. It is a wonderful path. You are all on such a magical path, and posture makes sure that energy flows better. Having good posture. And that is something that you can remind yourself. This is one of those things that we usually have we have a whole system here, and we have this on the body side of things that we are adjusting. So that can be one thing. Posture, when you're sitting in front of the computer, and that, or anywhere, when you're walking, practice good posture. Practice grounding. But grounding doesn't happen just by you focusing there. You have to also adjust the body so that it has the right balance. There is a balance in the body that feels very expansive and automatically allows for the chakras to just naturally want to open. But if you're like this, it's a natural sort of kink in the energy flow. You know, maybe it's not like, let's say like this. There's a natural kink in the energy flow. And that matters, you know? It does matter. Everything accumulates. Because if you're walking like this, let's say, hunched over, first of all, it's a lot of mind stuff. You know, it's like, So, clearing up what is that, and sometimes just the correct posture will sort of snap you out of it. But it takes some practice to remember that in the moment, because then you're usually caught in something. And so remember that posture is something that really helps for the energy flow. But for that you also have to be soft. You see? It's not like this tough guy thing. It's not really that. Although it is posture, but you can be soft and open in your energy centers, and then you are radiating more energy. But it is about posture. Posture is good posture on people. That looks really good, you know? A good posture on a human being looks really good. Try it out. Okay, so enough with the postures. So we have felt into, because when it goes this when we receive these days that are just so new and so fresh, we sort of just change things up and follow that energy to see what's new. And sometimes it's just quiet. It's like energetically quiet. And that feels quite nice, because there's then more space to receive, you know? And so we had on the board last 28 days to release our first book. We haven't talked about this so much, and I don't know why, but we just have felt we have written a book, and we have, in the last round, we have gone through it again to correct some mistakes. And so what we would like to do is that we would like to give this really affordable. So if you want to be part of that, if you want to receive this first launch of this book on Kindle, we're going to distribute it to the whole world. And it's going to be really affordable. Just so that we want to expose as many beings and teach expose as many beings to these teachings, so that so many more others can learn all of this as well. And so this book is sort of like the baseline for this knowledge, a little bit about us and how all of this came to be. And if you would like to join, to be on that list, just all you have to do is just sign up to the newsletter below. If you have signed up on the newsletter, you will receive, or if you have signed up for the free 28-day consciousness shift, and you still receive email from us, then you will get it. Make sure though that you are checking spam, because we have at least one being that we saw that has signed up for the Ascension program but didn't get the link, and we've sent the link a few times, right? This is not something we normally say in these things, but we've sent an email a few times, and maybe we'll see. But we're so grateful for this book, and we're a little bit nervous too to release it. We've been a bit like, because this is our first book. It's quite a thing to like write your whole personal story. Not that we didn't go too deep in our personal story, but we did explain what things have happened in order for us to get to this place. And that's one thing that we are getting ready to release. We had it on a board to release now, but we don't feel like it's time now, but we're starting to talk about it at least. And we're also noticing that we're being asked to sort of slow down a little bit, to inject more fun, more play into the day, and not be so hard on the next thing and pushing, because we noticed that the last round there was a lot of push. It was a lot of push to interesting. Gaia is here. This is one thing that we like to feel Gaia more. And there is a little rumbling here, which is exciting. That usually means that something is shifting. That's what we are feeling. And so, where were we? It's interesting. We feel very different. And it can be like that sometimes when you shift so much. And this was a really big shift for this entire 28 days. There was a lot of micro shifts over every single day, over almost all of the days. It was a lot of energetic push to get through that. And so when 28 came and day one, we were a little bit like, there was a little bit of that too going on for the body. And so it's important to balance. And that's what we're working on now. We're working on injecting more play, more music making. We're making music. We are that's also something that we are planning on releasing, but we haven't. It's one of those things that is like, it's very intimate, it's coming from a very pure place, and we like it, and we like that way of sharing frequency, because we can build very strong frequency through music. And that is something that we're stepping more and more into, to be, it's all part of it, it's all part of growth, to just go into the things that you truly want to go into. And a lot of those things just come when you've gone through your shadow, they come then. And now, after having being introduced to people again, we've sort of there are a few like patterns that we have to still go through, you know, but this is the game. Whatever comes up for every round, whatever you get to do every round is something you cash in these rounds. And it can be a little bit tricky to truly identify these shifts in the beginning, because beings can be very focused on being in the mind. And so it's very important. That's why it's so important to be in the body. But sometimes you gotta correct some perspective sometimes, so that you are here and not some persona that you've just been playing for too long, you know? Like there is an authenticity that is needed to get to first, so that there's a deeper landing. And you just feel it. It's like you've sunk deeper. And that can sometimes go in and out. You can go in and out a few times like that. That's also very normal. And yeah, and we get it. We are not everyone's cup of tea, you know. We get it, and we have seen that, and especially now after all of these shifts, like our energy just comes through. And sometimes we feel for people because it comes through very sharp sometimes, and we don't mean anything harmful by it, you know. Like it's just, truth is like that sometimes. It can be cutting when it's allowed to be unhindered, because then it becomes more precise, you know. And sometimes people misinterpret that and think that it's about their personality. You know, if you get, it's not about your personality. It's about correct energy perspective. It's about correct perspective in the knower, so that more energy flows through. And very classic. We had an example here where it was a singing workshop that we were attending, and there was this being that said something about that she's seeing cockroaches and being part of all one, and that type of thing. And we get it, you know. We also used to have that misconception, getting into like, oh, cockroaches, oh yeah, we're all one, and you can send cockroaches love. Like, of course you can. Of course you can. Of course they feel it. Of course they recognize it too, you know. But there is a level of disconnect that happens when you do that from reality. And that's, the guides came through and just like, get back into reality, and like hammer, slammed on the floor. Like this is how they sometimes come through. Like very, very direct, very fast, very, sometimes I don't even know. It's just, that was what was needed to be said. And we and we get it, that it can be a bit jarring, because we have felt this, right? And so we have been through many rounds of this truth correction as well. And that is one of the reasons why we did start to look at ourselves. But if you judge, of course you're losing the lesson. But it's not like we're doing it on purpose. It's like we can see now that, okay, we can definitely mature that energy through our body, you see, and say it in a different way, right? We have to have a little bit more control over that. We don't really want to. So we're not going to control it to pipe it down. That's the thing. We allow it to go, but then we course correct. You see? This is our intuition, which sometimes comes through like that. But it's always kind. It's always to correct an energy. You know? But some people are not ready to see that yet. And they perhaps think that we're saying that they're not good enough or something, right? The ego hears what it wants to hear. And it's not so easy to know that, you know? And this being, it is so weird. Like we didn't really, in the moment, we didn't really think too much of it. We were like, okay, they delivered something. Okay, cool. That's why we didn't say anything. But then afterwards, we've sort of bumped into them like twice now. And we feel that they're just like giving us a treatment, which is like, okay, you know, it's like this, don't shoot the messenger, you know, it's that type of thing, you know. When people get that, sometimes people and recognize when people speak from Gaia, she would get this right away. Maybe not right away, but at the very least she would be sitting with herself instead of judging us, right? So it is about the balance. That's really what it is. It needs to be a balance. That's why we kill mosquitoes, you know, because mosquitoes didn't ask our permission to suck blood out of our body, and so they're trespassing the security territory. So we, you know, we can, you know, no, go away, you know, like intend, even in frequency, you can intend it, but sometimes you just there's a lot of attention, right? And that's what these things represent. Different consciousnesses that sort of just wants to suck from you, you know? And it's just a manifestation. But it doesn't mean that we like it, the body, right? And that's why we deal with it. Same with other things that it's just not how we want our sanctuary to be. You deal with it. Like a stewardess, protecting your land, protecting your space, protecting your crop, protecting everything that is yours. That's what it's about. And it's wonderful to have a practice where you send love to even cockroaches. It's completely fine. If you've had a thing with cockroaches, let's say, and you hate them, then it's a good idea to send some love, you know? Because that's not the kind of thing that we're doing here. You know, it's not like that. It's with respect. It's like, you know, it's not with an easy heart that you do that. You look for options. Like sometimes we don't. We try and get them out, you know, in other ways if we can. So that's what it is. That's what we feel like sharing today. It was a little bit free flow. It's a very interesting first couple of days of these 28 days, and we're just following along with Gaia to see what wants to shift. All right, take care. And if you haven't already, sign up to get notified when we are launching the book. That's going to be awesome. All right, take care. And the book's name, maybe you've guessed it already, it's called I Am the Remedy. Take care. Ciao.